Good evening. Welcome to Stamping with Cece, my technique of the month. Tonight we're going to do Iridescent Ice and using our Stampin Pastels. And we're going to use the stamp set Fifth Avenue Floral, a beautiful stamp set, and we'll use the lily flower from that. We're also going to use Inspired by Nature. It is a great two-sided stamp, and we're going to use the grass from that. And then we're also going to use Best Yet, and this is a great little set, small little verses, and tonight we're going to use the one that says So Glad We're Friends. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is take our rose red cardstock, and we're going to Versamark the grass part of it. And with some of these bigger backgrounds, we found that it's a lot easier just to put it rubber side up and ink it, and then it's a lot easier to get it well inked. We're going to stamp that to the left and press nice and hard, and we're going to re-ink it and stamp to the right so we get the cardstock has a watermark using these really pretty long grass leaves as a background. Okay, there we go. I don't know if you can see the leaves on there, but it does just bring out a watermark. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of glossy cardstock, and we're going to take the stem from Fifth Avenue Floral, and we're going to stamp it in Always Artichoke. We're going to do 2 of them. Then we're going to color them in using the Always Artichoke marker. Let's go down and fill that right in. For the sake of time, I've already cut them out, and I've actually already affixed it to the beginning of our card. And I wanted to point out a great little glue to use for these little skinny spots. And that's our Tombow multi-liquid glue. It has 2 different kinds of ends. It has a pointed end, which you control pretty well, and then it has a broad brush end where you can use wide stripes of glue for larger areas. And so that being already done, we'll get right to our lily, which I have already stamped with, inked with Versamark and stamped on watercolor paper. And I've used the gold embossing powder and using the heat gun to set that. So that's all ready to go. Now we're going to use our Stampin Pastels, and I haven't used them for a while, and so it's kind of nice to bring them out. They're a great tool for getting shades the way you like it. So we're going to start by picking up just a little bit of Pretty in Pink. We don't want too much, because we want the outside edges to be lighter. We're going to come from the outside in, and we're going to work from the left to the right, because we're assuming that the sun is shining from this side, and so this would be the lighter side and the darker side would be on the left. So as you take this around the edge, it will get lighter and lighter. We're going to come down here and fill that in. And then you'll notice these 2 petals on the right are getting really, really light. And that's okay, because that's what we want it to do. And just, okay. Now we'll take and put on some Regal Rose right in the middle to give a little bit of shading. We don't want too much. We're just going to kind of do a little circle and pick up the edges of the pink, the Pretty in Pink. And then I'm going to use, first I'm going to use my finger. I'm just going to smoosh that around a little bit. The watercolor paper is a little bit different than our normal cardstock and almost doesn't need anything else. You can see the center is a little darker than the outer edges. And if you want to spread that around a little better, you can always use your blender pen and pick up some of that color and blend the two a little better, and it works very, very nicely, but it's really pretty good the way it is. So we're just going to set that aside now. Actually, we're not done with that. We're going to take our Versamark and we're going to just cover it really, really well with the Versamark pad. Then we're going to get our Iridescent Ice and we're going to sprinkle it on top. And it's okay if it's out around the edges because we're going to cut that excess off. Now I'm going to hold it up and hopefully you can see this turn as it gets hot. And I'm going to actually turn it again so I won't burn myself as we go down to the bottom. Okay, I think that's pretty well done. And we'll cap up our iridescent ice so we don't have it all over the place. Okay, now we're going to cut that out and it'll be ready to adhere with some dimensionals. Now we're going to take our card that's almost finished and we're going to put a couple of dimensionals on the back side and get that adhered. And then we'll stamp our verse and put our ribbon in and we'll have a card all ready to go. Again, I've already laid down, you can see the stem already in place for us just to put our flower on. And I'm going to overlap them just a little bit and put it on a little slightly different angle. Let's see, we'll just put it just like this. Okay, so there is the second flower. Then I'm going to take our horizontal slot and you want to get just a little smidgen of the edge of the card, not very much, just enough to nip it like that. And we're going to create a little spot for our ribbon. This is the Whisper White satin ribbon. And I have about 16 inches here, and it's going to be, you want to put your slot just to this, so you can, when you put your ribbon on it and you tie your bow, it's going to cover up the bottom stem on our flowers. So get this in place and pull that through so we have a nice finished knot. We can trim off the edges. Actually, I'm going to trim off the second one later. So here is that, and now I'm going to take again the watercolor paper. I'm going to take out my So Glad We're Friends using rose red to match the back color of our card. Stamp that right here. Now I'm going to take our square scallop punch and just lay that upside down so you can see and frame your verse really nicely. It's a little harder on this watercolor paper, but it still punches it. And then we will put some dimensionals on that and finish our card off, and it will be ready to go. I have a friend who just recently had a mastectomy, and you know, it's always nice to get a card from somebody who cares about you and knows you're going through a difficult time. So this card is for her. Angie, just want to let you know I'm thinking about you and praying for you. There you go. So glad we're friends. Have a nice evening. See you next month.